Well, cheap fragrances. Who doesn't enjoy smelling great on a budget? I mean, for me personally, that's how my collection started. That's how it continues to grow. I do appreciate the more high-end luxury fragrances. Don't get me wrong. It's hard to pass up a good budget fragrance that just doesn't smell like a budget fragrance. In this video, I've got 10 of my current personal favorites that I want to discuss with you. So stay tuned. Starting with one that's kind of flying under the radar these days, with flanker after flanker coming out in the line, which as a whole, the line is great. From Mont Blanc, we're talking about Legend Night. This lovely violet, cardamom, sweet, spicy, powdery, evening wear type of scent that admittedly does do very well in the cooler weather during the day, not just in the evenings, even though the silhouette, color scheme of the bottle, and the name will lead you to think strictly evenings. I don't think it's just a strictly evening wear fragrance. I feel like there's enough freshness going on here that it'll still work well somewhat casually, semi-formal, semi-casual, I guess you could say, somewhere in between with this particular fragrance during the day. In the fall, the winter, the spring, I think it just kind of works. A little on the powdery side, but not heavy on the powdery side. There's a bit of lavender here that provides an aromatic, slightly soapy feel to it without being too soapy. There's still some sweetness. There's some spice. There's a floral tone. There's a little bit of everything going on for it here that kind of adds to a sensual, smooth, cooler weather type of scent profile. It's sensual and smooth, which does lead you to believe evenings and dates, but overall, I think it's much more creamy, slightly powdery. The touch of spice that's not overdone, I think gives it enough everyday character. I really do. That's why I say it's good in the cooler weather during the day as well. There's a little bit of sage, if I remember correctly, that kind of adds a little bit of that mass appealing feel to it, that familiarity for a daytime fragrance. Check this one out if you haven't. You can find these testers, kind of like, I mean, I have a tester here, in the $30 range from discounters online, and it's a very solid fragrance. Again, that's Mont Blanc Legend Night. Definitely one of the best smelling fresh fruity fragrances I've ever put my nose on. Performance is nothing special here, but for 25 bucks, it's definitely one of the best smelling fragrances I've ever put my nose on with Sean John I Am King. 25 bucks is what I paid. I forgot which particular rack store not that long ago. It's got that pomegranate, passion fruit type of fruitiness going for it. Bright, fresh, uplifting, a little bit of a watery aquatic feel with a nice fresh spicy undertone in the background. This stuff smells great. On the synthetic side, sure, but the aroma, magnificent. Had to include this in this video. This is one of the fragrances that brought this topic to mind in the first place because it really is one of the best smelling cheap fragrances out there in my opinion, and nobody really talks about it. They do pop up at the rack stores from time to time. You can find them from discounters online. When it comes to these Sean John fragrances, they really do have a bit of uniqueness. They're very enjoyable, and they're usually very cheap. And Sean John I Am King is nothing short of that. Get your nose on this one if you can. I'm pretty confident in saying you won't regret it. Again, that's Sean John I Am King. This fragrance surprised me. I picked this up for 15 bucks for a 40 ml from Burlington not that long ago. I've been wearing it casually around the house. I've been wearing it out the shower. That being JOOP Wow. This is JOOP Wow Fresh, the fresh flanker. Super enjoyable. If you like violet leaf fragrances, this is kind of a must in the price point. It's got a little bit of zestiness, some fresh spicy quality to it. It's a little on the aromatic side. It's got an aquatic feel, though there's no notes here that would lead you to believe aquatic outside of maybe violet leaf mixing with bergamot. There's a little geranium here that I think adds this earthy, fresh, spicy type of tone that I'm getting. It doesn't really give much of a mintiness like geranium tends to. And there's a bourbon vanilla in the dry down that's got kind of a darker sweetness, but it's not a very sweet fragrance. This is mostly about this lovely violet leaf and this undertone of this fresh spicy accord. Beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Not a super strong performer like a 3 to 4 hour fragrance on my skin. Nothing to reapply, especially if you get a little 40 ml bottle like this. Now, I got to tell you, this is one of the best violet leaf fragrances I've put my nose on. Does have a little bit of a petroleum Fahrenheit type of feel here, but much, much fresher than Fahrenheit. I've heard some compare it to Aqua Fahrenheit, which I personally have not tried, so I can't say if that's fair to say or not. But if you tried Aqua Fahrenheit, apparently you will enjoy this one because it's a much fresher take on that style of violet and violet leaf fragrance. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Very, very affordable. It's JOOP Wow Fresh. Another one that I recently picked up a gift set from Ross Dress for Less for $30. It came with a 50 ml of the fragrance, a 50 ml of the shower gel. I have used the shower gel as well. And if you like fresh tonka bean fragrances, you are bound to like Diesel Spirit of the Brave. I've really been enjoying this one. I've worn it a few times now since I got it at the recording of this. And it's bright, it's fresh, it's green. The cypress note here adds a little bit of a minty quality to go with a light, powdery, and sweet tonka bean note. It's mostly cypress and tonka bean that I get here. Fresh green, minty, uplifting, powdery, and sweet. For a tonka bean fragrance, it's quite nice. Above average performance, but definitely not a beast. In the 6 to 7 hour range, it's been sticking to my skin in the few times I've worn it before it becomes a faint skin scent. And projection, pretty heavy in the first hour. Not quite a room filler kind of thing in the first hour, but after that it does sit a bit close to the skin. Kind of average arm's length type of stuff for another hour or so, hour and a half, something like that. And then it sits pretty close to the skin and does typical stuff where you got to walk pretty close to somebody for them to smell you when you walk by. But on the youthful side, sure, if you don't like tonka bean fragrances, you want to steer clear of this. But if you like tonka bean, which is in a lot of designer releases over the last several years, it's become a mainstay in men's fragrances, you're bound to like this one. The Only the Brave line has a lot to offer, where there's a lot of good to very good fragrances with a lot of good to very good performance that aren't, familiar scent profiles that smell like everything else but aren't crazy unique at the same time. They have a youthful vibe to them. They're easygoing, they're playful, and Spirit of the Brave encapsulates all of that in my opinion. Get your hands on this one if you can try. Kind of a sleeper fragrance is Diesel Spirit of the Brave. Now this is actually the only niche fragrance on the list. Believe it or not, we have a niche fragrance in this video, and it's probably my favorite fig fragrance I've ever smelled, that being from MOLINARD. This is FIGUE. So, not winning any performance awards again, but it is an average performer. 5 to 6 hours on my skin, solid. What's beautiful about this one is it's got this tart fruitiness. It's a little bit of a black currant vibe, some C notes, it's aquatic. There's a juicy, mouth-watering fig note here. Beautiful, bright, fresh, aquatic, fig-based fragrance. Lovely. Luxury, niche level quality to the scent profile. I really, really dig this one. This particular fragrance seemed like a safe buy. Justin Copeland, shout out to you, my friend, if you see this, was the man that sold me on this fragrance. I picked this up for around, I believe it was $40 from Kingdom Fragrances a while back. Have not looked back. This particular fragrance seemed like a safe fit in my collection for my taste, and it absolutely is. And it makes me want to dive into the house a bit more. I've yet to get into more from MOLINARD, but if I can expect more hits, affordable hits at that, like FIGUE from MOLINARD, it's definitely a house that I need to dive into more and that maybe you should give a try. And a great starting point that just smells phenomenal for the money. I mean phenomenal for the money is FIGUE. Believe it or not, there's 2 JOOP fragrances in this video because there's 2 particular JOOP fragrances that deserve to be in this video. For around $20. You can get JOOP HOMME Ice, and I can almost guarantee, can't quite guarantee because there's some people that won't like it. You're bound to like it. Performs so much better than a $20 fragrance. In the 6 to 8 hour range, easy, solid. For some people, I've been told they get even more than 8 hours of longevity. It's a stout projection without being too heavy and in your face and obnoxious, but very present. For a solid 2 to 3 hours, there's this gorgeous, sweet, fruity plum. Juicy, juicy. It's floating in front of my face right now. It's so lovely. There's some woods here. There's a bit of freshness. It's a bit uplifting and bright up top while still having a pretty dense, dark, juicy fruit sweetness to it from this plum note. Gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance that has some bite to it for the performance. The scent profile is far from boring. It's got a little bit of complexity and a whole lot of character, and it's only $20. Get your nose on this one if you can. You won't regret it, in my opinion. One of the best $20 fragrances money can buy is JOOP HOMME Ice. Speaking of one of the best $20 fragrances money can buy, this falls right into that as well. It's dark, it's a bit different. It's got a little bit of a boozy nuance. There's some cacao here that offers this chocolatey, slightly smoked leather accord. It performs great, and you can get testers for 20 bucks of Pepe jeans. Celebrate for him. That's right, I paid $20 for this from Kingdom Fragrances for a tester. They do have them at other places online from discounters in the $20 to $30 range. You can get a 100 milliliter bottle. This is another 6 to 8 hour fragrance. Great performance, not mind-blowing beast mode performance, but well above average. It projects very heavy. It's distinctive. It's kind of got the Pure XS Night vibe from what I've understand from people that have smelled both this and Paco Rabanne Pure XS Night. I personally have not tried the Paco Rabanne fragrance, but I trust the people that have told me that. So apparently if you like that, you'll enjoy this, and it's even more affordable and performs about the same. It's really, really good. If you've tried fragrances with a cacao note before, cacao pod, it's this chocolatey leather type of smell. Sometimes it's a little more chocolatey, sometimes it's a little bit more smoky leather. Here you get a good dose of both. It's pretty well balanced with a little bit of a booziness up top. Even though there's no boozy note, it has a boozy feel in the opening to me. There's a little bit of greenery. It's got a nice undertone of spice. It's sweet with not being overly sweet, with a hint of a gourmand touch from that little bit of chocolatiness that you get from the fragrance. Really, really hard to beat. Definitely does not smell like a $20 fragrance, and definitely does not perform like one either. It's Pepe Jeans. Celebrate for him. Next is one that you can find pop up all the time at the rack stores. Burlington's tend to have a lot of Guess fragrances, and if you can get your hands on Guess Man Gold, you'll be doing really well. It's got a lovely, warm, spicy feel here with some amber, some musk. There's a little bit of a green undertone, but it's mainly this warm spice and this certain muskiness. There's a suede note, if I remember correctly, that kind of adds this buttery feel to the warm amber, and a little bit of an edge to the musk, to be honest with you. I'm dare I say, a slight animalic tone to the suede. Not a very animalic fragrance. Obviously, it's very smooth. It's on the synthetic side, but it's super enjoyable, and you're going to spend 20 bucks or less. This was a 75 ml. I want to say I paid right around $20 for it. Not a super strong performer, but average range, 4 to 5 hours type of stuff on my skin is what I've been getting with it, and it is so enjoyable. I can't decide which I like more. I love the original Guess Man, but Guess Man Forever and Guess Man Gold are the two newest ones to my collection, and they're two different scent profiles. This is darker, more evening wear, spicy warm. That's a bit more fresh daytime wear, but it's hard to not give the nod here to Guess Man Gold. That's why that is the particular flanker I decided to feature. I went back and forth on the two. You can't go wrong if you're looking for fresh with Guess Man Forever, but if you're looking for a little bit more evening wear character with, like I said, this lovely warm buttery feel to it in the dry down, the suede, the amber, the muskiness. There's a little bit of greenery, but a lot of spice, gingers and pepper and stuff like that up top. Beautiful. Beautiful fragrance, and when you smell it, you definitely won't think $20. Guess Man Gold. $20 is the theme for a lot of the fragrances in this video, and this is one of my favorite $20 fragrances, has been for a while now. It's my favorite budget alternative to Versace Eros, that being Guess 1981 Los Angeles. This again has more of an evening, warmer, spicier feel to it than a Versace Eros. Here you're going to get a dry black pepper spice up top. There's a warm amber in the dry down, but you still get a bit of that mint, vanilla, apple-y type of feel, a little bit of ambroxan smell that you've come to expect with Eros. There's no mistaking that they were going the route of Eros, but they did make it warmer and a bit more evening appropriate in my opinion. Performance is average, 5 to 6 hour range. Sometimes I even get into that 7 hour range, so really a 5 to 7 hour range is what I should say. Some people have told me to get better, some people have told me to get worse. Your experience will vary. It changes from person to person. Skin chemistry is different with everyone, but it's hard to deny how great this smells for $20. I've actually had a few buddies online even dub this the Versace Eros killer. Now, I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that. Between the two, I have Eros EDP. I would keep Eros EDP over this. I'm not going to sit here and lie. But if you're on a budget, 20 bucks, man, this is hard to beat. This is my favorite affordable alternative for that scent profile that kind of tweaks it just a little bit and kind of makes it its own thing. Guess 1981 Los Angeles is definitely one of the best smelling cheap fragrances out there. Last but most certainly not least, we ended up having 2 Mont Blanc fragrances in this video as well, just like we had 2 JOOP fragrances and 2 Guess fragrances. Great affordable options from these houses, and the performance is here in Mont Blanc Emblem Intense. It's a solid 7 to 8 hours in longevity. It projects very well for about 2 hours, maybe even a little bit better. Warm apple cinnamon smell, red apple, warm red apple type of smell. It's got this denseness to the fruitiness. It definitely smells like the original, but much more intense. This is a true flanker that's appropriately named. It is Emblem, but a much more intense version. The spices are heightened, the warmth is heightened, the fruitiness is definitely heightened, and the performance is cranked up. I paid $30 for this 60 ml. I forgot which rack store it was in particular, but you can find a 100 ml for $30 from most discounters online. A lot of different places carry this stuff. It's underrated. Not that many people talk about it. Not that many people have ever given it a chance. Because if you've tried the original, it's an okay fragrance. If you've tried this, this is a much better. This is a very good cheap fragrance in my opinion. That's why I kind of saved what in my opinion is the best for last, because this checks all the boxes for me. It's easygoing enough to be casual, yet enough going for it to be a bit more dressy. It's dark and spicy enough and rich enough and warm enough to work in the evenings, to work in the cold, but with enough freshness at the same time, just a little bit of freshness up top, to work in the warmer spring, warmer fall weather, summer evenings type of stuff. So almost perfectly year round for around $30 with great performance. It's Mont Blanc Emblem Intense. What are some of your absolute favorite cheap fragrances under 40, 30, even 20? We got several in this video that you can find for around $20, and they don't smell like $20 fragrances to my nose. Believe you me. And until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. So I do appreciate all the feedback, and I love hearing from you guys. Do you have any of these? Are any of these on your radar? Do any of these pique your interest? Let me know down in the comments. Until next time, I will say, if you get your hands on any of the 10 that I featured in this video and you give them a spray now, you might end up thanking me later, because you're going to be smelling great without spending a lot of money. Have a good one, guys.